guys, Sarah here from Highland Haven Australian Shepherds and Highland Haven Dog Training, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 4 of Dog for Thought. Joining me is my co-host, daughter, and dog trainer extraordinaire, Sophie.
Hi, everyone.
Sophie, what's going on? How are you?
Good. We just had Turtle leave a couple days ago, and we've both decided that we love him.
Who's Turtle?
Turtle is Roddy from the spring litter this year. He is also siblings with Marley and Chico and a couple other puppies. We've mainly seen Marley and Chico recently, and obviously Turtle. And he's just a lovely dog.
Yeah, he's only 7 months old, 8 months old, something like that.
He looks like a full grown.
He does look completely full grown.
Yeah,
and he's
beautiful.
not awkward at all. Usually they're pretty awkward at that phase. But he's not awkward at all. He's super people friendly, and he's a nice size. He has a beautiful coat. He's just a super sweet guy. So I'm really happy with that litter. So I think that owner is going to keep him intact, and we might use him for breeding, which would be nice because he's just a lovely dog. It'd be nice to fold him back in. And also folding him back in through the male keeps folds Ty back into our bloodlines, which I'd like to continue to do because he's a good boy.
Yep. And we're probably going to end up breeding it with Tula, right?
Maybe, yeah.
We don't have anyone else to breed him with unless we get a new female.
Well, that's true.
So
I guess more my hesitation is, am I going to breed Tula to him? We'll see.
Yeah.
When the time comes. She's about to go into heat. She hasn't come into heat yet. We talked about that last week, about how she's sort of gearing up to go into heat, but no physical signs yet. But I'm not breeding her this time anyway. She's going to take another off cycle, and then we'll breed her in 6 months when she goes in. I think it'll be her third heat cycle in 6 months, and then we'll put her on a spring schedule once a year during the spring and see how many litters she can safely have before she retires. So, what else is going on?
Well, we have 2 new training dogs, and then my boy Dutch is back, which, if you guys remember from previous podcasts, is the wire hair pointing Griffon that I fell in love with. And then we have a Corgi, and we have a Shih Tzu right now. And
yeah,
it's
so
a
really
great group.
Three very different breeds from 3 different groups. So Shih Tzu would be from Toy, Corgi would be from Herding, and of course the Pointer is from the Sporting group.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about groups, in the AKC they have these groups that each dog belongs to a certain group depending on what they were developed for, right? So each group has their own personalities and breed tendencies. So when you have 3 dogs from 3 different groups, you have very disparate behavior in the group. So in our little group here, so that's fun.
It's really fun, and if I was just a dog knowledgeable bystander and I happened to see us walking with these 3 dogs, I would be like, wow, that is an interesting taste of dogs.
Right.
Because it's very different characteristics per group. And it's also really nice, even though they're all very differing personalities, they get along nicely.
Yeah, the 3 of them are very sweet. Tula comes in and out of the group to play.
Twiggy comes in and out of the group to play.
And of course, we still have Penny, Journey's puppy from the summer litter. She'll be here for a few more days, I guess about a week more, and then she'll go back home. So, and then we have boarding dogs that are coming in and out. So but everybody, the groups have been able to be completely together. We haven't had a solo dog come in, or for whatever reason, dogs that can't socialize. And you're talking a Shih Tzu to a Pointer. That's a huge size difference, but the Pointer's such a sweet guy. I don't worry about the Shih Tzu at all.
The Shih Tzu bullies him, so
Shih
it's hilarious.
Tzu's pretty full of herself.
Yeah, she's hilarious. First of all, her name's Betty White, which is just a perfect name for her because she is sassy and she just has this spunk to her, and her thing right now is she's obsessed with eating leaves, so we have to watch her and make sure she's not out there with all the foliage eating leaves.
Eating leaves. Silly. That's an annoying thing when they decide they're going to eat inedible stuff. It's a very annoying trait.
What is wrong with you? And luckily, her dad's did tell me that she does eat leaves. So when I found her ruffling around the leaves, I was like, "Do you have a leaf in your mouth?" And then, meanwhile, she had like 3 leaves in her mouth. I had to pull out. I was like, "Lord have mercy." Luckily, it's nothing that will kill her. But like, gosh, stop eating them damn leaves. And then to briefly talk about the corgi, we've trained corgis before. Not in like our training facility, but like when we worked at other training facilities, I've worked with a handful of corgis, but this is the first one that we've trained like in our facility. And some, they're part of the herding group. They can be pretty sassy.
And he's here for resource
guarding.
Amongst other behaviors where he's become quite fractious with his female housemate.
Yeah.
Who's also a corgi, but they're not related as far as I know.
And he's just wonderful. I just love him. And I think it really is going kind of back to the groups of dogs. It really stands out. Like I knew I was going to like him because he's part of the herding group of dogs. And it's very much I just love a herding dog. I don't care. German Shepherd, Border Collie, you name it. It's my bag. And I was trying to like pinpoint why I like him because he doesn't look like the type of dog I like. He doesn't, he's a little guy with little legs, and he has these pointy.
He's actually
ears.
not little. He's a big guy with little legs.
Yeah, but like, he's so I don't know. I just adore him.
Yeah, he's first of all very nicely bred, so he's quite beautiful, and he's just very sweet. Mm-hmm. He just needs some clarity and some confidence building, and as soon as you apply that, he's like, okay, that's good. I feel better now.
Yeah.
So he's very willing. He just was a little confused as to what the rules were at home, and he was becoming anxious. And when a dog gets anxious, they herd things, right? Yeah. They react on other dogs or sometimes people, and they try to control their environment. So really important that for herding dogs in particular, that you're quite bossy with them. They really thrive on that. Yeah, and not all breeds thrive on that.
Yeah, I love being bossy. So it works really well. And he just follows me everywhere, and I just really like him. He's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, he's really, really cute. Yeah. I could see myself having a corgi later on in life. Yeah, for sure.
Me too. Yeah. And then one of his biggest triggers are motorcycles, and it's always funny whenever we walk at our local park. It's like fate is just like, you have a dog that doesn't like a lot of people, a random parade on a Wednesday, and you're just like, oh, okay, like I guess now we're working on it. And so today there was a bunch of like police motorcyclists doing weird things in the park,
like maybe 30 or 40 bikes. Yeah. So they must have been doing training exercises or something. Yeah, they were like going sort of up on a path and around us, and some were coming towards us. So it was like this 30 or 40, maybe even 50 bikes. Big loud motorcycles were, and then a couple of emergency vehicles with their lights on but no sirens.
And trailers. He doesn't like trailers or motorcycles, and we just like walked through it.
Yeah. No, he was great. No, it was really funny. I recorded it for the parents because I was like, yeah, no, we didn't plan this, but we took advantage of it when it came about, and he was really good. Mm-hmm. He was really good.
Yep. It's just simply telling him what to do, and just being like, we're fine. Like, don't worry about it. I'll handle it if something happens. Yeah. And he was like, okay, thank you.
Yeah. He just needs some confidence.
Yeah. So
beautiful dog.
Yeah, he's really fun to work with so far.
Yeah. So, we should get started?
I mean, we can go right off of this into our topic.
So our topic is called Ode to the Walk. I thought this would be a good topic because much of our training is just walking the dogs. And that sounds like we're not doing anything, but so many things can be addressed on a regular walk that we find that most of our training is done through that, even though it's really nuanced and sometimes hard for us to put into words what we're actually teaching. So you want to start?
Yeah. Our main part of training in our program is the 10 to 12 walk, which we just bring them to the same park. And the nice thing about this park is you can walk on the road. They also have like wooded paths that you can walk on as well. And anywhere in like the main park area, dogs are always on leash. We really don't worry about stray dogs just running up to us. I mean, that's always a possibility when you are walking your dog in public, that stray dogs can approach you. But for the most part, we've been walking in this park for a long time, and there's been very, very limited times that we've ran into other dogs off leash.
I don't know if we've
at all.
ever had an off-leash dog come up to us.
Ruby.
What do you mean, Ruby?
There's this old lady who walks this little Yorkie thing named Ruby, and she just screams Ruby, and Ruby doesn't listen, and she's old. The lady's old, and anyways, it's annoying when we do have like a dangerous dog. Well, not dangerous.
She's like
dog,
a little Shih Tzu or something.
She's a Yorkie poo.
Yeah. So she's not any danger to us, but of course we worry that we're a danger to her depending on who we're walking.
Yeah, sometimes we're walking these big dogs that are reactive, and we don't know them that well. And here comes Ruby running up, and we know from a mile away that it's her because this lady's like, Ruby!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Poor Ruby's going to get killed one of these days, but whatever. But yeah, that's pretty... And then sometimes the discus people have their dogs off leash.
But they've never interfered with us.
No.
Yeah, but for the most part, you're right. People are very good about keeping their dogs on leash in this particular park, which is why we feel really comfortable there, even with reactive dogs. Yeah, so when you say 10 to 12 walk, what you mean is 10 in the morning till noon. We do 4 shifts a day. That's considered our second shift, and that is the shift where we do formal training. In this case, walking.
Yep.
Working on commands during walks. We do a third shift where it's just play. And then the fourth shift is literally watching TV with them. And then, of course, the early morning shift, which you do.
Which is cleaning, pretty much.
Which is cleaning and hanging out and having breakfast. So the 10 a.m. shift is when we do our formal training. And sometimes we do stay here and do actual sits and downs and work on stay and place commands and things like that. But I would say 80% of our training is just walking the dog, which sounds like we're not doing our job. But there's so many things you can teach through walking. The first being don't pull, right? Because almost every dog that comes here has a pulling problem.
Well, and what is the root of pulling? Impulse control. So the first thing we're working on is impulse control with the dog. We are on a walk. We are all walking together in a pack, and you are not going to pull or react or be obnoxious in any way. We're not going to pee on everything. You're going to have the impulse to walk politely on leash.
Okay, so that's like several things.
Sorry.
So let's just focus on not pulling, right? So pulling, yes, that's impulse control. Almost every dog that comes here arrives on a harness, and that's the first thing that we take off and put in their bag and don't touch again. Goes home with them. And they go on a martingale, sometimes many times a prong collar, depending on the size of the dog, because they have pulling problems. And as we've talked about ad nauseum, harnesses beget pulling. They encourage and exacerbate pulling.
And reactivity. So, people have been sold this bill of goods around harnesses, which we've talked about a lot, that is going to stop pulling, when in reality it creates it and exacerbates it. So that's the first thing we do, is put them on a collar. And sometimes dogs go out and like really freak out for the first 5 minutes. And, that's an important lesson. And we don't really have to do anything. Much of the walk is the dog learning to regulate through a series of real life events, whether it's dogs walking by, 35 or 40 motorcycles driving by, a parade, bicyclists, cars,
mowing the lawn,
trailers,
those big mowers that go by that are working on the park,
people playing discus, kids playing on the playground.
Right. So all real life things. And really much of what we need to do is just let the dog learn how to regulate through the exposure, right? The other reason we like this particular location, and we do go to other locations depending on what we're working on, but we spend the majority of our time at this particular location because, like we've talked about before, it is an access road that's about a 40-minute walk around the park. It's a 2-lane road, so you can make distance. And with dogs that are reactive or are freaking out, we want to make sure that we create that distance so they can learn to regulate in a place where they can be under threshold and regulate.
I mean, even with the access road, it's not just a road. Like, there's a huge shoulder on the side, on both sides. So if you do have a crazy reactive dog, you can either make the space closer together or you can really make the space super wide. And there's also a frequent amount of dogs that come depending on what the season is.
Yeah,
so,
we generally know who the dogs are, so we know what we're getting because it's the same sort of usual suspects that walk their dogs around the time that we do. So when the dogs are coming towards us, more likely than not, we know the dog, we know what their reaction, if any, is going to happen. And that helps us be prepared for either making more space to really provocative dogs or idiotic owners who let them go out 15 feet on the end of their flexi and have no control over them, or dogs who are really, really neutral, and when we can work on giving more slack and leash with our dog and let them practice regulating on a neutral dog that's walking by.
Mm-hmm.
So we work on the pulling. It's natural to work on reactivity because we're seeing the dogs. And you can't work on reactivity unless you're out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So walking is super important for that. We also generally will walk in a group with several dogs, depending on how much individual attention they need. Sometimes we'll walk with 4 dogs, 2 and 2.
And sometimes we have friends who will walk with us. Like today we walked with Gianna, who owns Evie. And then there are other times where we'll have clients and be like, it's free of charge. Just come walk with us. This is where we meet. We meet this at this time every day. So if you're interested in coming to walk with us, come walk with us. And the nice thing about this is we're able to kind of talk about what they're having issues on still with their dogs. It helps the dogs that we're working with, and we're able to help them at the same time, which is partly why we do it free of charge once they already had board and train with us, because we can help them out, and we don't have to.
Or they can just simply practice their skills. They're really good, solid skills.
Yep.
And it's nice to have company.
Yep.
If I'm walking 2 dogs, one of them has to be farther along in their training than the other one because you can't do 2 fresh dogs at the same time. Mm-hmm. Today, I elected to just walk Penny. She's 3 months old. She still is a little bit all over the place. I don't do a lot of correction of that. All I really ask for from Penny is that she doesn't tighten up that leash, that she leaves the leash loose. And that sounds like one instruction, but she has to pay attention to many things to make that happen. She does tend to shift back and forth from left to right because she's so young and so distractible. I don't discipline that. She's young and she's distractible. That's normal.
Well, and this is the interesting about our training is you're very chill with the dogs that you walk, which has its own benefits because I think you kind of more mimic of when they do go home what their owner is going to be like. Where I have a much more stricter way that I like to walk the dog. So if there's a new dog coming in, a lot of the times I will walk the new dog because I have 1,000 rules that I want them to follow. You have to walk on this side. You're not allowed to walk on that side unless I say you're allowed to walk on that side. You can walk on the grass if I want you to, but not all the time. I'm much more stricter with how I like them to walk.
Yeah, you have more structure to your walk. You want them to pick a side and stay on that side. I will let them switch back and forth provided it doesn't bother me, provided there's no reason I need to keep them on one side or the other. I like to give them more freedom because it helps them practice pure self-regulation without interference from me, which is what I am after. You work on the structure so that a dog who's newer or maybe needs more instruction can pay attention and sort of be held onto one side and focus on what that dog needs to do.
So like a great example is Penny was a perfect match with you because she doesn't really need all that structure right now. She's a puppy. She kind of needs to have that freedom and to be able to figure out just how to function in the world. That's really her goal. Mm-hmm. Where Fergus, which is the corgi that we were just talking about, has already experienced all those things in the world. He's an adult now and now has created behavioral issues and needs to be told what to do. Mm-hmm. So I'm very good at taking a dog like that who is anxious or just needs more structure in the walk and being like, this is your job. This is the only job that you get. You need to stay on my right side and you need to stay within my clip. We're not going to stop and pee on everything. We're not going to smell anything. This is a walk. We're doing it together. These are the rules you have to do. And what that gives is a dog like that. It gives him a purpose. It gives him a rule that he has to follow, and that's what he has to pay attention to the entire time. So then when huge distractions like motorcycles or cars or trailers or other dogs come by, he's too busy worrying about that he needs to stay in this clip with me and not to pull and not to smell and not to pee on things, that when a dog is reactive towards him, he's too busy focusing on that.
Right.
And that's how we kind of...
You keep his mind much more engaged than I do when I walk him. And I think that's, like you say, it's how we work well together, is that sometimes there's been times when I've walked. I think I walked him yesterday because you weren't here. Maybe.
Yes.
Maybe not. Maybe I didn't go on a walk yesterday, but whatever. And when I walk him, we can kind of test where he is because I give him a lot more freedom. And if it becomes an issue, we can just switch dogs and you can take him and give him more structure, which is something you enjoy. I prefer, ultimately my goal with a dog, when I'm walking a dog, is that they don't pull on the leash, that they keep up with me, and that they're calm and pleasant to be with. Whatever they need to do in their own minds to get there is what they need to do. I don't want to be like super involved in that. That's not to say that I don't have structure, because I do have boundaries on my walk, right? You don't stop, you don't trip me. Tripping is a big thing for me. And you don't pull, you don't react to other dogs. There's certainly common sense rules that I have, but I like them to figure shit out themselves, because ultimately, like you say, when they go home, the owners aren't going to be doing the kind of structured walk you're doing. I mean, they might apply that sometimes. If we do our job well and teach them well, they might be able to apply those things. I think, say, Lucy's mom is much more structured in her walk, which is great for Lucy.
Lucy needs that. And
right.
So we went into that lesson being like, this is what she needs. She needs this, this, and this. And Lucy's mom was willing to step up to the plate and do that. And we do have a handful of clients who are like that. But like 80, if not more, of our clients want a dog that they can just throw a leash on and walk outside, and the onus is on the dog, not on them.
And they don't even really want particular engagement. You do a lot of engagement, and when I'm working on a skill with a dog, I do a lot of engagement. But in general, you do more of it than I do, which is why we decide who's walking what dog based on what they need and what our skill set or strengths are as trainers. Most people don't really want engagement. They want their dog to be sort of a silent partner that just trots along next to them on their walk. And so I try to simulate that, because that's sort of what I want.
Yeah.
And I this is kind of a side note, but I love walking two dogs or even multiple dogs. If I walk our own dogs, I can take 3 or 4 of them at one time because they're all so well leash broke. But it always makes me feel like I'm driving horses, like a stagecoach. It simulates that for me. So I like to have sort of multiple dogs fan out in front of me and walk peacefully together. But that takes
a lot more
months
skill.
and years of practice.
Yep.
I think that when you regularly walk your dog, which, we can go right back to why city dogs are generally better behaved than suburban dogs. It's because they have to be walked, and they have to be walked multiple times a day. And that right there is evidence of why are they better behaved? Because they have to be walked. That should tell you how important a regular walk is.
And I mean, even if we do the comparison to like city and suburb, when you're in the city, there's buses and people and bikes and people jogging and horns and ambulances and other dogs in close proximity. So if your dog can't handle that, like if you adopt, we'll have people who adopt a dog that's not from the city and then bring their dog to the city, and then we have to train them how to like be okay walking around the city. If your dog can't do that, then that dog goes back to the shelter. So a lot of the times city people either get a puppy to get them exposed at an early age, or adopt a dog, and if the dog doesn't work, then they return it because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit their lifestyle.
Sure.
Also, like active wise too, is if you don't walk your dog in the city, they stay in the apartment all day.
Right.
So that's their exercise, that's their activity, and that uses a lot more brain stimulation than you would think than going outside and playing fetch with your dog.
For sure. And when you're talking about city walks, or you're talking about walks that we do, like I say, we're usually walking with other dogs, sometimes multiple other dogs. And we can go back to last episode where we talked about social facilitation. So a reactive dog walking with a non-reactive dog is not going to fix the reactivity. You'll see that a lot on Instagram. Walk an unconfident dog with a confident dog. That will fix their confidence. No, that's not. Social facilitation doesn't go that far. It's not the other calm, polite dog's job to teach the maniac, stuff. But it won't make the behavior worse, and it does provide some sort of comfort to the reactive dog, right? They can sort of look at a good example. So a lot of times we will walk one of our own dogs if we need that sort of polished, finished, confident dog. With a really stressed dog, we might pull one of our own dogs and walk them.
And, also keep in mind what you were saying is sometimes it can also make your dog that is not leash reactive, because now if you think, oh, well, he's so good on a leash, blah, 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 and now you have a dog that's not good on a leash and you don't know what you're doing and you're walking them together, now all of a sudden the good dog on the leash starts reacting too.
Right. So social facilitation can be harmful
as well as positive.
If you've got a dog who's not polished and finished, walks with a dog who's, a maniac for whatever reason, the dog hasn't been trained or whatever. Yes, you can pull out reactivity in the unfinished dog who maybe initially is really calm and good. So that's really important too, that we're really careful not to ruin the dogs that are on their way to being finished with dogs that are raw and have some fractiousness, tendencies.
So a lot of the times, like if we have a handful of training dogs all at the same time, and let's say like most of them are leash reactive, which usually that does happen, and we have a new dog coming, a lot of the times I will take the new dog and we walk behind you who are walking the dogs that are more further along in the training process.
Sure.
So those dogs are seeing the new dog that's walking in the opposite direction and they're not reacting because we've worked on them and you're giving them more freedom to be able to see and feel and they're not super reactive at this point. And then the dog that I'm walking is super reactive, but they're seeing that the dogs in front of us that we're walking together aren't being reactive, even though there's a dog coming, but they're not influencing one another. Where if they're negatively, right. Where if they're walking together, sometimes walking them together where they can see each other can create them all to react at the same time.
Right, and a dog who's on their way to learning, it doesn't really need a stressful situation where the dog next to them is losing their mind.
Exactly,
right? And needs to be taken a distance away. Not really fair to work a dog up like that.
Yeah. So sometimes we'll be like, okay, there's dog coming. I'll send you forward and you can pass the dog and then I'll hang back.
Or
and
sometimes it seems that we would always do that, but sometimes we have a dog and we're like, no, he needs to go first.
Yeah.
Even though he's the reactive one, he needs to go first so that
I can like jog or like get him preoccupied so we can pass the dog faster so I can prevent him from reacting.
And that's all about exposure. So the more exposure they have to the things that make them upset and they make them less and less upset, the easier it is to then say, okay, now I've brought your threshold up to the point where we can now walk by, with a normal distance, and now I can start inserting alternate behaviors. So initially it's just, let's try to get them not to be fractious by creating distance, right? And sometimes by engagement, right? Lots of cookies and stuff, and reassociating that experience that once was full of anxiety and adrenaline to one of calmness and dopamine, right? Once you get to the point where they can control themselves a little better, it's then an opportunity to insert more commands, more rules, an alternate behavior. This is what we do. So now that you're not losing your mind and you're still here with me mentally, I'm going to ask you to do this. And then you can start moving forward with a plan, a structure. Every time we see a dog, we do these steps. And then the dogs that are super anxious about this kind of stuff, they find solace and peace in, okay, I know exactly what's about to happen. I know what she wants me to do. Let's do those ritualized behaviors. I go to the outside, away from the other dog. I look up. She gives me cookies. She tells me I'm doing great. We walk by, and that dog never comes into my space.
Mm-hmm.
And over and over and over again, when we do that, then dogs become more confident, less scared, more engaged, more trusting of the person on the end of their leash. Then we've got to bring them home and work with their owners. That's a whole, maybe we should do a whole episode just on working with owners, because that's the other half of the training, and we don't have nearly as much time working with the owners as we do with the dog.
Well, I mean, I would love to do that and actually bring some owners on the podcast.
Yeah,
I feel
that
like
would be
that would
great.
be really fun.
It would be nice to hear their
Feedback.
and point of view, what it was like for them, what worked well for them, and of course, what works well for one person,
It's not for everybody.
won't work well for everybody. So, and that's again, you and I have to sort of change on the fly, try to figure out. And most of the time, it's a couple. So, having two trainers show up, it's kind of a weird business model, but having two trainers show up is really quite helpful, because you can work with one spouse while I work with the other.
And it's also interesting that, like, within that dynamic, each spouse tends to work differently. And so as we're having, it's funny because I actually think that working with people tends to be much harder than working with a dog. So I always feel like whenever we're going into a lesson, I'm like mentally preparing myself to be able to make sure I'm explaining everything right and organically, and not overstepping, but also not understepping, and creating good boundaries so that they understand what we're saying. I always feel like that's really hard to balance. But I do think having you there as well, because you're much better with your words than I am, helps when I get stuck on stuff, and I'm much better at like showing an example of how we're walking the dog.
You do all of the leash training with the client. I will generally hang back either by myself if it's just one client, or I'll hang back with the other partner or spouse behind you, and we'll just talk about what's going on in front of us, how you're doing it, what you're doing, and talk to them specifically about the issues they're having. Because the issues that each person has with the dogs are, most of them are the same, and then there's a percentage that's unique.
And then we switch a lot of the times, and then the next partner will come up, and then I'll walk the dog and kind of explain to them. But usually, once we get to the house, we usually break off a little bit, and you end up finding the partner that needs more words to understand, and I find the partner who needs more visual to understand. And then it's a lot of us talking about like just because your partner rewards that type of behavior doesn't mean that will leak into your relationship with your dog. So we talk a lot about that too. This is kind of going off topic.
It is. We'll save the rest of that for, like I say, a whole episode on talking about the people side of it. But that's most of the go home lessons we do, we just talk. We don't do a lot of demonstrating. There is some, of course, there has to be, but most of it is just dog philosophy, because before you can get the dog to behave, in quotes, on the walk, or behave in a way that you like on a walk, there's all this foundation building, and understanding the philosophy behind that foundation building, why we make the decisions we make, why we interact with them the way we interact with them. All of that equates into a dog who can listen in whatever situation you are, whatever you're asking it. So we don't train them for specific tasks for that home and that dog, by and large. So rare cases when we do. Most of the time we train the dogs in the same way. Each dog has needs a slightly unique approach, but we train them all the same way, because what we're teaching a dog to listen and to be able to respond.
And
right?
In the end, it's a blank slate. And I think that's the unique thing about how we train dogs compared to how I see other people and other places that we've been hired to train dogs, is we create a very blank slate. Sit down, place and go lay down. Those are the main commands we give the dogs. And then knowing their name. And then we're like, whatever you want them to do in your lifestyle, these are the tools you need to use.
Right. And that's a good way to put it. So we give them a set of tools, and then they can use those tools to create
however they want
with that dog. The dog doesn't have to have specific, unique exposure to this specific site or this particular behavior. You can, once you open that line of communication between you and your dog, you can then insert
however you want to do
whatever you want to do. So very much like the walking, it seems like we're not doing much, but there's a lot going on under the surface. So we've talked about the walk, working on impulse control. We work on reactivity. The nice thing about leash training your dog, particularly when they're puppies, which is what we do with our own dogs, they start very young. We don't make them, when they're 10 weeks old, they don't walk the whole loop because they're too small. But we get them out there really young, because if you create a lovely leash trained dog that has lots of exposure when they're young, they carry that with them for their whole lives, whether or not they get walked. Like, it's true permanent foundation building. And if they haven't been walked in a year and you take them out, they might be a little rusty, but it's going to come right back. It's kind of like riding a bike. When you leash train your dog for an extended period of time when they're young, they never forget that. And it will come right back. Of course, we encourage people to walk their dogs regardless of whether you need to anyway, right? Because so many things are being communicated, and you can talk about the relationship building leash walking does. They're a cooperative species, just like we are. So, there's this whole thing about people singing together. Have you ever heard anybody talk about that? It's very, very satisfying to humans to work together, to do teamwork. And singing together is very satisfying, which is why when you go to a concert and the whole arena sings the song together with the artist up there, or the artist just shuts up and lets the whole arena sing the chorus or whatever, why that is so deeply satisfying to human beings. I never really thought of it that way, but I'm like, it is.
Oh, you get like goosebumps.
Yeah.
When, like, everyone's singing together. I also think it's interesting that's the perspective that you see it from, because how I see it is very much like sports. Like, I like the teamwork that when we're walking together as a pack, because it's very much so like, you have these strengths, this dog has this strengths, and we're going to use both of our strengths to be able to get through this mission together. So that's, and I think that's why I really like a very structured walk, because I like everyone to have their own place. Like, this is, you stay here, you go there. We're not smelling that. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to go around the loop, and then we're going to get there. When we get to the car, we're going to sit, or what, whatever. Like, I really like the teamwork and the building, and to me it relates to sports, like very much like softball. Like,
well, is there anything more satisfying than being on a softball field and being in the outfield and having a fly ball go to center field, you catching it, and then relaying it in or throwing it straight in and getting the out at home, right? There's really seeing that sort of teamwork for the whole team is extremely satisfying to human beings, because we're social creatures. And dogs are social creatures the same. So anytime you can have sort of a teamwork activity with your dog, which leash walking is. I don't know if people really think of it that way, but it is like the ultimate teamwork. I mean, unless you're talking about high level competition, right? Yes. For the average person, the relationship building, it's going to be walking your dog, right? It's so satisfying to both of you when you can just sort of do it in a way where you already know what the dog's thinking, the dog knows what you're thinking, right? Which is why doing the same loop is really healthy for dogs. Some trainers are like, if you're just walking your dog 30 minutes a day, you're not doing enough for them. Oh, give me a break. 90% of the household pets will do perfectly fine, will be happy, well-adjusted, lovely, fulfilled pets with a 30-minute walk a day. Okay? We're not talking about Malinois. We're not talking about Border Collies. We're not talking about
high working driving dogs. That's not what we're talking
We're
about.
not talking about the working dog. So
average
maybe
person-
not a Great Pyrenees. Maybe will not enjoy the walk because that's not what they're designed for. But
the average dog that people get, retrievers, labs, doodles, toy breeds, most of them like walking 30 minutes. It's the perfect amount of walk. I don't understand what the deal is.
And so every day you're reinforcing this teamwork, which is so satisfying to both you and the dog, even if you're not conscious of it. Mm-hmm. And then you can talk about leadership part of it.
Well, I mean, I think I had a whole thing I was going to talk about, but then I lost my train of thought. Well, like with walking dogs, I think that
first of all, dogs.
This is what I was going to say. Relationship. I wanted to kind of hit relationship. I mean, we talk a lot about relationship, and I think people forget what relationship is when it comes to animals, especially your dog.
I don't know if they forget. I think they don't even know.
Yeah, maybe they don't even know. But like, I think with relationship, it's so important. Like, relationship isn't feeding your dog, isn't petting your dog, isn't loving your dog. That is not relationship. I mean, is that a pro? Yeah. Like, they're going to love you for those things, but those are like basic stuff that you do with them. Real relationship is going through highs and lows with your dog. I mean, I imagine a great example would be like your longest friend. You have a great relationship with them because you can look back. Oh, do you remember that time in college that we did this, this, and this? And now look at us. We're like, we both have kids together and we're raising these families together. But like, you can relate to all those experiences that you had with them. And I think that's true relationship, is when you walk with your dog and you go through the highs and lows with your dog and are able to get them on a frequency that you guys both understand each other. That's true relationship. And I don't think that people always consciously understand that that's what relationship is when we're talking about it.
And can you think of a single thing for the pet dog, not for the working dog? Can you think of a single other thing you do with your pet dog that's going to simulate that teamwork and that relationship building? No, exactly.
I don't think so. I mean, I'm like trying to think like fetch and stuff, but it's not really.
It's still, fetch is really for the dog.
Yeah, it's for the dog. It's not building
not a
relationship.
Team thing. It's for the dog.
Yeah.
Again, if you're working your border collie, that's very satisfying to get, but that's work, right? That takes specialized training.
I mean, when I'm thinking about fetch, you said no working dogs, or if you're a trainer. Like, when I play fetch with Twiggy, I create a good relationship with her because I don't just play fetch with her. I ask her to do things. And I think people also forget, like, that's what we've bred these dogs to do, is to boss them around. Like,
again, they don't forget. They don't know to begin with.
Yeah.
I don't think we have an epidemic of people forgetting things when it comes to their dogs. It's literally that they don't know.
Yeah. It's just, like, okay, so I was talking to one of our clients. It's one of my favorite clients, and she brings her dogs to get groomed. And he is a very difficult dog. He is as pure as an Aussie as it gets, comes from working lines, super leash reactive, wary with new people. I mean, the reason she brings him back here for grooming is because he's funny with new people and won't let them like touch his feet and stuff, and he will bite you if you do it the wrong way. But me and him have worked really hard on our relationship, so I can do literally anything with this dog.
He was here for training.
He was here for training.
Now he just comes back for grooming, but we did training with him.
I did training with him, and he was primarily like my training dog. I did the most with him. Like, he was my project.
He was the worst dog as far as, and we've talked about him before. He needed to keep a leash on for like 3 full days.
Yeah, it was a metal leash, so he wouldn't chew through it. And every time we would bring him out of the kennel, it was a game of trying not to get bit by him.
Right, and we didn't use a muzzle with him.
No, we didn't use a muzzle.
That would have just made things worse.
Yeah.
But it took him like 3 full days to let us, let me touch him, which is unusual. That's pretty high on the scale.
I mean, we had other dogs in the facility, and we would have to blanket all the kennels because he was so fractious and so sensitive that he would just like fence fight all the dogs. It took him a really long time. We had to like slowly wean him to like exist with other dogs, knowing that like they are not going to come out of their kennels. And then even like he didn't even know how to anyways, he was a mess.
So now he just comes back. She doesn't travel much, or when she travels, I guess she leaves him with the son.
Yeah.
So she doesn't need a lot of boarding, but she does come back for grooming. So go ahead.
And we talk a lot because I adore her. And we were talking about relationship and just like kind of going on about things. And Finn was getting really anxious as we were talking. And she turns and says, Finn, sit. And he did a perfect sit. And then she goes, you go settle down. And then he eventually, as we're talking, he lays down, which is the whole purpose of us doing this training. Is like he needed something to do. She gave him something to do. And therefore he was able to focus on, okay, I have to sit here. I have to sit here. I have to sit here. I'm going to lay down. Right. So instead of him winding himself up, she told him what to do, and he was able to calm himself down by her telling him what to do. And I commented on her, and I was like, that was so beautiful what you just did. I'm so happy. Like you put so much time into him and really worked on your relationship with him.
I think a lot of people put time into our training dogs when we send them back, but not everybody has the same understanding and skill level.
Or philosophy.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine
or personality.
with. Yeah.
But she does. Mm-hmm. She does. She's raised kids. She is a no-nonsense person. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what he needs. He doesn't need love and pets.
Mm-mm. He needs to be told what to do.
He needs that in different circumstances, but not in circumstances like this.
And so she said, that's so interesting because my sister came over. And when my sister came over, he was begging. He was like sitting outside. She had him in a place command, and he was being really good. So she called him off the place command and gave him a piece of cheese and said, look pretty. And look pretty command is him sitting on his back legs and going like this.
Right.
And the sister goes, oh, I can't believe you make him do performances for you to get food. This is a dog who needs to be told what to do. And he loves it. Why? Like, I don't, like, that's what goes through your head is he's performing. No. He's not performing. He was being good. He got released from that command and got told to put in a different command to get what he wanted. And so it was mutual beneficial. Like it was mutual. It was a mutual beneficial relationship right there. Like, I don't understand why you think that's bossing him around.
Plus, she doesn't not feed him if he doesn't behave. No. She doesn't not love him if he doesn't behave. And that's sort of what the sister or sister-in-law was implying, right? That these should be without condition, right? Giving a dog food should be without condition. And that is a fundamentally flawed, ignorant way to look at relationship with your dog. And that makes people uncomfortable because they keep going back to that, he shouldn't have to do things for me in order to get something like food. He's not doing that to get his dinner. She's going to feed him regardless of whether he behaves. But if she's asking him to do something unusual or asking him to follow the rules and he does it perfectly, you're going to reinforce.
Yeah.
It's simple reinforcement.
You get food you normally wouldn't get because you're being such a good boy.
Yeah, stop, implying that somehow that kind of stuff should be unconditional. Love should be unconditional. Mm-hmm. First of all, you're talking about an animal and you're using affection to reinforce the behaviors that you like. He's not a human being.
Well, and then I don't know. Then how I see it is if you work hard, you shouldn't get a bonus.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is, right? He was working hard. He was sitting and doing a place and being a good boy, and there was people around and it was entertaining. And these are all really, really hard things for him to do. And he was being a good boy. Therefore, he got a bonus and he got some people food.
I'll break it down even further for you. So like your relationship with your immediate family, like your children or your parents or whatever, your love is unconditional, but that doesn't mean that your behavior is not reinforced or disciplined, right? We've talked about this before, that I love you and Jacob unconditionally, but that doesn't mean that I will necessarily have a relationship with you. Say you become a drug addict, right? And you're deep in addiction. I still love you the same, but I can't have you in my life. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where I was going with this, but it's not the same with dogs. And when people apply that kind of stuff to their dogs, they're fundamentally misunderstanding what reinforcement is and what conditioning a response is. And ultimately, dogs want to know what you want of them. If they don't know what you want, that's when things go awry.
I also think this poor corgi. Very satisfying to work for something and to get a reward for it. I mean, if we go back to like sports, is like sometimes you work together as a team and you fail. And you have a dog that we've been working together. You've been doing really good. We did sits and downs. And then one dog passes by who just triggers you and you had a bad day and we lose the game, right? But how satisfying it is for you to lose game after game after game after game. And then all of a sudden you win a bunch of games. Like earning it and working hard. And like that is a mammal thing. Mammals like to like work hard.
Well, it's not even that they like it. It's that their brains are hardwired
wired to do it.
Right.
And so I get really frustrated when we put this like fake belief on our dogs, which are mammals and living things, and we say you don't have to work hard, everything is handed to you.
Yes.
That I hate that mentality because that's
if
not
I love
true.
You, I should give you whatever you want. If I have conditions that's somehow withholding, I don't know. It's a crazy sort of far one direction, force free kind of stuff, which makes me insane. Because it ultimately does a tremendous disservice to the dog, and a tremendous disservice to lots of people who are online watching those videos going, oh, well, because I require my dog to behave a certain way or I discipline my dog, I must be a bad person because look, this person is saying I don't need to do any of that. And that's fundamental bullshit.
Yep. I'm sorry, it is.
It is.
And I wish it was like, I honestly sometimes wish it was true. Like I wish we could just love them to death and it would just be easy. But that's just not how living things work. They're living things. People are not perfect.
No, and I think it would be boring.
It would be boring.
That's why I have Aussies, because it's never the case.
I know. It's like they always come up with some new behavior.
I mean, we have a lovely dog that comes in. I'm not going to name her. She's fantastic. She is the perfect dog for 90% of the homes out there. I mean, she's just so
perfect,
sweet and well behaved and biddable, and she'll do whatever you want her to do. She'll be whatever you want her to be. I find her mind-numbingly boring. I do. Yeah, I can look at that and go, "That's a good dog."
It's a fantastic
but
dog.
I find her so boring.
But not my type of dog. And I think that that's kind of the mistake that a lot of people get stuck in, is I think that they think all breeds of dogs are kind of like, if you love them enough, they'll be perfect for you.
Right.
And it's just not true. And when we say like you need to do research and make sure you find a dog that's best suited for you, there's a reason we have 1,000 different breeds and styles and types and looks and temperaments and sizes and shapes, is because people are unique and like very specific characteristics per dog. And one person's muse is not somebody else's. And so like, and you know, people have this, a good example is people have this whole thing about, oh, I want a big dog, I want a big dog, I want a big dog. Pretty much most people should not have a big dog. Sorry, period. Done, end of sentence. And I think that if you did more
research... The bigger
research,
the dog, the bigger the problems.
I know. I mean, if you have a big dog that's leash reactive, that is a lot worse than having a little dog that's leash reactive.
It's much worse having a German Shepherd that's leash reactive than a Corgi.
Yes.
It's a much bigger problem.
Much bigger
There's
risk.
More potential for serious consequences, whether you getting pulled down or that dog actually injuring another animal or person. Yeah, big dogs are bigger problems. Small dogs, smaller problems. Now, they still have problems, but... Yeah. So, I don't know. We're kind of off in the weeds, which is kind of our
MO.
But if we go back to leash walking for a moment, this Corgi who came to us with some resource guarding issues and reactivity, really, and he's going to be with us for 4 weeks, really most of what we're going to do with him is walking him every day, exposing him every day so that he has positive experiences and gains confidence. And he's going to get that confidence through good leadership on the other end of the leash and communication and structure. Already, he's so much calmer and happier. Mm-hmm. Now, he's not, I would guess, not being his silly, goofy self yet. We haven't seen the real dog yet. He's only been here several days. But it's so satisfying to me to watch him walk with you and see this dog go, this is what I wanted.
Yeah, he's so engaged. He's so into
naturally
it.
Engaged.
Yeah, like, I mean, he's not super food motivated at the moment. I hope it will kind of pick up a little bit. But he just wants eye contact, which is totally my bag. So we're walking him and he's looking at me and I'm marking it, and you know. So like we passed those bikes, he was looking at me. I'm like, yeah, you're doing so good, buddy. Like, yeah, you keep up with it. And then after those bikes left, I did a little run with him, and then we stopped, and I was like, oh, you're such a good boy, and I gave him 1,000 pets, and he was so satisfied with that, you know. And even with him, I think also the thing I really like about the walk is making them do weird things. And when I say that, it's like if this dog's scared of a plastic bag, we're going to go up to the plastic bag so you can go smell and see it's not a big deal.
Not forcing them.
I'm not forcing them. Just being like, let's go investigate, you know? So a lot of the times when we do have spooky dogs or dogs that are nervous about something, part of the walk is let's go investigate. You know, that's part of us being out here and working together as a team. Let's go out. Let's go look at it. If you're not over the top going crazy over this bag because you're so scared of it, let's just go look at it. I do it with Twiggy all the time still. She's scared of her own shadow. You know, so.
I mean, could you imagine living in let's not even say a foreign country. Let's say a foreign planet where they're speaking alien language and you have no way of deciphering what the heck they're talking about. And they're different species, right? Because they're aliens. So you can't even look at their body language and try and figure out what the heck they want from you. And then suddenly an alien comes to you and speaks your language. Imagine how much of a relief that is.
And that's pretty much what happens every single time we get a new training dog.
You can just tell the relief and the change in their behavior and demeanor and anxiety level just by communicating with them in a way they understand and giving them what they need.
I mean, even like, I think people forget, not forget, I keep using the word forget. I think people don't know how scary it might be in the world to be a dog. Because, like, imagine going to a foreign place. You are a pet now. You are not a human being. You are an alien pet. They put you on a leash and they walk you around, and weird objects are flying in front of you, flying past you. You don't know what that is, and they're just talking on the phone. And you are freaking out on the end of this leash. You have nowhere to go, nowhere to run. You're terrified. And then they start yelling at you because you're all over the place. But you're like, I'm terrified. I'm scared. That is...
Or they're picking you up and hugging you and going, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay, baby.
But not exposing you to these things and being like, it's fine.
There's no confidence in the person that's walking you's ability to protect you, right? You're talking about every single behavior a dog does. It's all about their own personal safety. It's a survival instinct. It's true for children too, right? Basically, everything they need from their caregiver is around safety, feeling safe and secure. If they don't have that, things go really bad for kids if they're raised in an environment where they ultimately don't feel safe and protected.
I mean, I a lot of times I like watching the videos with kids who are like autistic, and then they go to like an autistic hairdresser who like specializes in working with kids with neurodivergent behaviors, and it's just like they take it really slow, and then by the end it's like the kid is fine with getting his hair cut. Yeah, they just needed to take it slow. It's the same thing. It's the same satisfying when we take a dog who's like terrified of the world and just like walking them on a leash, and then it turns out that they actually enjoy walking on a leash, and it's like, yeah, like it's really great. I'll show you. It's really fun to walk on a leash. You just have to follow my directions, and I promise you'll be okay.
So I'm sure there's tons of stuff that we've left out that are actually being learned through leash walking. Mm-hmm. But suffice it to say that most of what a dog needs, that you probably don't know, this is probably before your time, but there's this poster that says like everything you need to know as an adult you learned in kindergarten. Ever seen one of those? And they'll list like all this, the rules that you learned in kindergarten, how they can apply to adult life. It's kind of like that with leash walking. Everything you need to know about how to exist comfortably as a dog can be taught through good leash walking.
Yeah.
Right. So can't emphasize enough how important it is to walk your dog, even if it's for short periods of time. We can do probably a whole episode on how structure and predictability are like the next rung on the ladder, right? of how you make a dog feel comfortable and secure. And a dog who feels we're not talking about a dog who has an aggression problem. We're talking about the average dog who feels comfortable and secure is a dog who, is a lovely pet. Mm-hmm. When they understand what's being asked of them, and there are clear rules and boundaries in their lives, they are, by and large, the happiest dogs out there, and that's everybody wants that.
Yep. And I mean, it just goes along with our philosophy. I mean, that's literally, we'll go into the house and talk about leash walking and our philosophy around leash walking and how we can take these same behaviors and bring them in the household, and how you can sculpt the dog to do what you want to do. Just be consistent and concise, and understand that if you change the schedule, they might have a reaction to when you change the schedule, and we're going to be understanding.
Right.
For that.
So
they're living things, and they're going to feel things, and it's okay if they feel things.
Right. And when you have a 3-month-old puppy, she's feeling lots of feels on the walk. Mm-hmm. She's lagging behind when a dog walks by us because she wants to watch that dog get way out of range, right? She shies away from cars, loud cars and bikes. That's normal. She's 3 months old. Mm-hmm. But the more exposure she has to that, the less, and she's never had an experience where anything has come towards her and threatened her life, the quicker she'll learn that those are just everyday noises, and she'll desensitize to them, and then you can layer more and more behaviors on top of that. Mm-hmm. So although she's not so much fun to walk right now because she's kind of all over the place and she can trip me really easily, she's doing really well. Penny, mm-hmm. She's really a sweet girl.
I mean, and I know we've been talking a long time at this point, but I always think, like, when Twiggy started walking, I was like, this is the worst puppy I've ever walked in my entire life. I was like, she's going to be terrible. And then it was like she hit this milestone, and then she's like a beautiful walker. So my favorite part of the day is to walk her. Mm-hmm. Now I literally tie her to my belt loop and we just walk. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, aside from Meadow, who tends to get very overly aroused on the way to the park.
Yeah.
And the first 10 minutes of the walk, she's very whiny and jumpy. That's just kind of who she is. It takes her a while to regulate those very excited, happy emotions to where she can settle down in a walk. The rest of our dogs are really lovely to walk. And generally, the younger they are, the better they're at it, because, I transitioned to training full time when they were young, and I was able to do this kind of an everyday thing. So basically, like, Deacon down.
Well, and I do think, like, I think Meadow would be a lovely walker if we just ran her a lot.
I think Meadow's early exposure for the first several years of her life, all we did was run in the woods.
Yeah, we just ran.
So she didn't do a lot of leash walking.
Well, and you don't have to regulate your emotions when you're running in the woods, because you just...
Consequently, she is, if we're going to be off leash,
perfect.
She's one of my favorite dogs to take with us, because she's so beautifully off leash trained, and she's so quick to turn and come back to you when you call her. Mm-hmm. So she definitely has her strengths, but maybe the structured leash walking is not one of them. Yeah. Journey, on the other hand, so easy to walk. She's like Miss Mellow.
It's like we had Ruby, Remy, and Meadow, and then we started transitioning to doing more training things like after that fact. Ty doesn't really count because he came already as a full
lovely
adult.
Leash walker, though, because he's just a great dog.
Yeah. But like the first 3, these are the 3 dogs we raised on our own, and we ran them in the woods. All we did was run those 3 in the woods. Ruby became a really good leash walker because every time I would come from school, we would go on our walks together. Remy, I don't think is the best leash walker either. She is like going to trip you.
No, but only because she's kind of old and frail now.
Well, she's like, really I'm talking about like not that long ago. Remy's not. I don't think
she's great off leash though.
She's wonderful.
Not anymore because she's deaf.
No, she's
so
deaf.
She can't
now.
Hear you call her.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like dogs that we've raised from a young age, and like what we focused on. We focused only on off leash stuff because it was just where we were in our lifestyle.
House, right.
And then as we started to evolve, Deacon, we only ran Deacon, and the reason he was so leash reactive is because we never exposed him to all those things. So during COVID, you really worked on Deacon, and now Deacon's like one of the best leash walkers.
He was the worst to now one of the best for sure.
He's
so
worst.
Focused on me. If I give him eye contact, he'll trip me because he turns his whole body to look at me. So he's better off leash too. He's really, really good.
Yeah. And then if you go anything down, we were in a training mindset, and so
in a different house, so we weren't running in the woods.
Exactly.
So we were doing more walking.
I mean, so I really do think it imprinted young hold them accountable young, understand that they are puppies and these are all new things and they're exciting, and hold them accountable for things that are unreasonable, and don't hold them for too much accountable for things that are not unreasonable. A giant trailer rides by and your dog freaks out. It's not a big deal. You're fine. Let's keep going. But if your dog is reacting at another dog because he usually says hi to other dogs, now I'm going to work on that behavior, because now we're not going to say hi to other dogs for a little bit until you chill out and create other dogs neutrally.
And, walking for the people too is really good for your own mental health.
Yeah.
And physical health.
Yep.
So it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We should wind it up. We've been talking for a long time.
I know.
So suffice it to say, the leash walk is a foundational tool to get to where you want with your dog, to create that kind of relationship you want. And you can walk little dogs, big dogs. You just adjust the distance. And don't listen to anybody that says that's not enough. Because I think sometimes when people tell people that's not enough, you're not doing enough, then they sort of go, well, I can't do anything now. Like, I give up if that's not enough. Mm-hmm. Most dogs will do great with a leash walk a day.
Yep, just do a leash walk a day. And it doesn't even have to be every day. Just like focus on walking your dog a handful of times in a week.
Hey, by the way, and we're going to finish this up. We're going to wind this up. But have you seen that video of the pitty in the house that's on fire? So this.
Oh, and then the guy runs in there and the dog's like freaking out because he's like, what the heck? And then the guy grabs a leash and the dog just walks right out of the house. That one?
No, well, that's not what happened. So the cop goes in to get the dog, and he tries to get the dog to go right back out of the house with him, and the dog walks towards the kitchen, and the cop's like, what? Why? Why are you going further into this house? It's on fire. And then stops in front of his leash hanging on the wall and says, right there, my leash. And so the cop's like, okay, we'll put your leash on. And he snaps the leash on, and the dog goes right out the door. I'm like, oh, it's so cute. I mean, that's just pure habituation, but it's super cute. Mm-hmm. Obviously, this is the whole routine, and this means a lot to this dog. Mm-hmm. Anyway, all right, let's wind it up. So next week, I don't know what we'll talk about. We might have a surprise. We're not getting any new dogs. Well, we might have a surprise for everybody next week. We might have a new addition that's not going to stay, but maybe.
We'll see. I hope so. I hope so.
All right, guys. So we'll see you next time on Dog for Thought. Bye. Dog for Thought is written and hosted by me, Sarah Brown, co-hosted by Sophie Brown, produced, edited, and original music by Jacob Brown. Don't forget to like and subscribe.